we're going to discuss a very, very interesting subject that pertains to women in politics and what are the challenges, how women have come up in politics. In India, of course, women have played great leadership roles, but it is not all across the spectrum. There are a lot of challenges too. And that is why we take up this issue with an eminent panel. I'm very happy that Ma'am Fauzia Khan has joined us. As you all know, she's a member of the Rajya Sabha and also leads the NCP, which is the Nationalist Congress Party, Sharad Pawar Women's Wing. So these are the two responsibilities that she shares. And, good to see you, ma'am, and thank you for your time. Also,
thank you very much.
Also joining us is Advocate Priyadarshini Rahul. She's an advocate at the Delhi High Court and other forums, and also takes a keen interest in parliamentary processes and works through the work she does. Good to see you, Priyadarshini, and looking forward to an interesting discussion. At the outset, thank you. At the outset, I want to request Ma'am Fauzia Khan for an opening comment about women in politics that she would like to say. Then we go to the questions. So what do you, ma'am?
All right. I think you have picked up a very, very important subject, women in politics. And I feel that we need women in politics for the simple reason that nature has made us balance. In nature has, is there that a family unit has a man and a woman, and both of them take the family forward. Without both going forward, even the family is incomplete. And hence, if women are not there together with the men, there will not be a balanced approach to any kind of governance or development. And that is why women's participation in leadership is very, very important. So, because that's how nature has made it.
Thank you for your opening comment. I'll go to Advocate Priyadarshini Rahul. Priyadarshini, I want to ask you, since you've been observing parliamentary politics closely, is politics gender-based as you have observed, men and women, or is it neutral? For example, in a constituency, it could be either a man or a woman, depend on who has a winnability factor, or on a position, it could be merit-based, either a man or a woman, or it's not like that.
Tarun, actually, women and men, unfortunately, are not being taken on the same foot in any of the profession, for that matter. And politics, for sure, there is a big setback for women who are actually willing to be in the political system. In fact, there are a lot of discussions we do on the same front that, in our culture, in our history for 400, 500, 600 years, we are known having women in the political and an administrative forum, and like there have been Rajmatas, there have been queens who have actually topsy-turved the entire political scenario, right from the north to south, from east to west. But unfortunately, after independence, if you get to see, we've been educated, but the role of women in politics is actually receding, which is not a very good scenario where we would want us to be. And at the same time, when you see about the performance perspective, they are excellent, Tarun. We only think that it is the opportunity that they are technically looking for. Probably once the opportunity comes their way, they grab it with so much of sensitivity, and they really give 120% more. One, to justify the position that they hold, saying that we are not lesser than the men. Second, to keep up the position and justify themselves in the role that they hold. And secondly, when you also see the parliamentary records which is happening right now, when I'm just taking the 17th Lok Sabha and the 18th Lok Sabha. So 17th Lok Sabha, out of the entire Lok Sabha, 543 MPs, we've had only 77 member of parliament who are women, which you will now understand if it has been an equal footage for them to play or not, in which 44 of them had been the first time member of parliament, in which 14 people have been less than 40 years. So one, they are women who want to join politics. Two, but the point is, how do they join politics? Because it's not an equal footing for them. Number three, if you don't have a political lineage, if you don't have a political fraternity, if you are an outsider from the political system, then it's a double bonanza for them to challenge the situation. And, that gets even more difficult for them. So there are very many passionate women who would actually want to come into politics, but these are the hindrances which we get to see as per data.
Point very well taken. Thanks for that comment. I'll go to Ma'am Fauzia Khan here. Ma'am, two things. If I go into post-independence history, you had Indira Gandhi, a very, very strong prime minister. We had other regional chief ministers, for example, Mayawati. For example, now the West Bengal chief minister, Mamta Banerjee. Then we had Vasundhara Raje, very, very strong chief minister. So on the one side, we can see examples of some very strong chief ministers. Add Jayalalitha from Tamil Nadu chief minister. And on the other hand, we see when we go travel in India that when a woman gets elected in his office, her spouse or the husband is sitting and running the office where the wife is elected. So on the one hand, we see such strong women at the top, and on the other hand, women are just used as a rubber stamp so that the woman gets elected and the man who runs everything, and he says that I am the elected person. Actually, this happens at the lower level and across India. Why this disparity, and what is your experience?
Look, I think this patriarchal system has been there existing in society for centuries and centuries. It's not been a short time. It's not been a short duration. So if the change comes in, it will take some time to actually happen. But I feel that the transition is taking place. What you say is right, that many times the women is just a puppet and the office is carried on by her spouse or brother or whatever. But actually, when I go to the ground, I see that the situation is rapidly changing, not just slowly changing, it's rapidly changing. Because when we have meetings with Panchayat Raj members and all, now that we see is many educated women have taken positions, sarpanch and Panchayat Samiti members, mayors, Zilla Parishad presidents, and they are doing very well. They are highly qualified, confident, and can take up their roles absolutely in a very good way. Because there is no lack of capability. If there is any lack, there is a lack in the social setup where men do not feel happy when a woman supersedes them, or it's the ego that is hurt. And that is some challenge that every woman has to face. But I feel the 73rd and 74th Amendment, where women were given reservations in Panchayat Raji and municipal institutions, are working very well. And I think India is at one of the top positions where women have really been empowered at the rural level, and they are slowly getting better and better. So I have nothing not having hope. I have a lot of hope from this system.
One small comment from you before I go to Advocate Priyadarshini. We have seen photos of men prostrating on the ground when Jayalalitha is sitting. We have seen photos of in front of Mayawati, grown, old, tall, big MLAs prostrating before Mayawati. So there the ego is crushed, or there is no ego there. I mean, men in a sense had no ego there. I mean, at least these photos were in media and circulated widely when they were actually chief ministers. So do you think ego is a facade or exaggerated? Because if there were ego, these people wouldn't prostrate before these chief ministers. Over to you, ma'am. Ma'am Fauzia Khan, am I audible to you?
You are audible to me.
Yeah, so I'm just... Yes, please. Yes, please.
Huh?
Yes, yes.
Well, I feel that what you have cited as examples is actually not prostrating to a woman, it's prostrating to the kursi. Because the kursi is of the highest rank, and that's why men, keep their egos aside. But when it comes to at a lower level when women have to work, that time the ego is there. It's not an imaginary factor. It's very much there. And sometimes men feel that women are not just capable. All the capability rests only with men. So I can cite a lot of, personal examples where I have seen with my own eyes how men behave when their women, their wives or their sisters or daughters are sitting on the stage and they are sitting down. So it's really very painful to them.
Okay, point very well taken, that it is when somebody achieves a chair, then attitudes change, but otherwise it's a struggle. I go to Advocate Priyadarshini Rahul. Now you see all these young and old MPs, women MPs in Parliament. At the panchayat level, maybe the municipal councillor level and the MLA level, maybe the scene is different. Is that Parliament level also thinks the same? What has been your analysis?
Think the same in which perspective?
In which perspective? As in that women are not empowered, though they are in a sense elected to Parliament, they are not in a sense able to make use of that position. Or what happens is, what we see, many people get elected to Parliament for just one term and they never come back to Parliament again. Effectively, they're not able to make use of the position for public good, because by the time they understand how the Parliament functions, things, their tenure is over. But if an educated person is elected, of course, he'll learn much quicker and implement. What has been, in your view, the contribution of women to parliamentary politics, which is within Parliament?
See, education plays a very, very important role, and whichever position you take. And one thing which we should understand is member of Parliament is a profession. So if at all you're going to take it the other ways, and then you're going to try to say it is social service and things like that, then it becomes a voluntary perspective and a liability that you're trying to help the public. I don't think we'll have to keep pondering around it. Let's now keep up to it. Member of Parliament, politicians is a profession, and let's stick on to it, and it's a respectable position. Point one. Point two, when you talk about women taking up these roles, and why is it they don't come back to the member of, why don't they get re-elected, or why don't they come back to the Parliament again? See, when you are taking women in a space of work, you should ensure that the work system is in conducive situation that the woman comes back to work, right? So there is always a perception, probably it may not be true, but there is always a perception that politics is not a safe place for a woman to jump in. And if at all, as a youngster, any girl goes and tells to the family or to the husband or anybody else that, I want to join politics, the first answer will be no, because they find it not too good for women to place their feet. But on the other hand, it is also being justified with the muscle power, which is being floated, the money power, which is actually being, on record shown, the violence that prevails, behind it, and the abusive stature when a woman wants to speak something and you can't confront the woman, the first thing you do is you abuse her on her very soft grounds. So technically, women becomes she becomes a system in which everybody can take that space to kind of brutalize that situation in which she is. So this was the perception that people had. But now, as Madam rightly said, education has given us a lot of exposure. We are equally educated. Thanks a lot to the social media. Thanks a lot to media, which is actually supporting for women to come into front line. In this situation, I think women who understand the process of Parliament, probably the first time a member of Parliament, you're saying by the time they understand what Parliament procedure is, their entire term gets over. But just to give you a little more information, there is something called probation, for all these probationers who are actually the first timers, there are a lot of sessions which the Parliament itself takes. So there are a lot of sessions that the speaker takes for them. And the senior, you will be surprised, Tarun, the seniors are always open beyond party lines to help each other. So this was a very surprising stature for me to check on to, because we think that they are oppositions, they are the ruling party, probably they don't talk to each other. There's going to be a lot of vengeance between them. But it is beautifully plated because they know what is business and what is personal. So they don't take personal things into the business.
In fact, I'll take an example before I go to Ma'am Fauzia Khan, that about Jawaharlal Nehru and Atal Bihari Vajpayee, where after the speech he made in Parliament, later both of them met at a party, and Jawaharlal Nehru, who was the then Prime Minister of India, said कि आज बहुत अच्छा बोला आपने Parliament में, That is the time when actually Atal Bihari Vajpayee was criticizing the Prime Minister and the ruling party, but he got words of praise from the sitting Prime Minister of India. So the example of how things are between that's for my viewers. I'll go to Ma'am Fauzia Khan on this. An unrelated question: the media. How does the media look at elected women legislators or elected women parliamentarians? Is the treatment the same, by and large, in your experience, by the media?
Well, by the media, I don't see any difference here.
Yes.
At least I have not experienced anything which shows some kind of bias because a politician or a woman in leadership, person in leadership is a woman. I have never experienced this, and I don't think media plays that role at all.
Okay, point very well taken. I'll go to Advocate Priyadarshini Rahul for her answer on the same question.
See, it also depends from which routes the woman comes into the parliament, Tarun. See, for example, if the person who's elected belongs to, from media, or she belongs to the glamour, field, probably if she had been a model, she had been a film star, then it continues because that's the perception that we have shown for that particular person. Like, we've not seen them as a public figure. But that is also to an extent understandable because that's a perception that we've had for that particular person. But, I have been seeing or reading few articles, which is very unfortunate that this minister, this Bindi, Sushma Swaraj ma'am, come on for her stature. I have seen articles where people comment about her tilak rather than talking about what she had spoken in the parliament. So I'm sure we all have come across these things. See, one point is, when a male counterpart, when a male member of parliament speaks, there is always what he speaks. And when a woman speaks in a parliament or in an assembly, it's always how she speaks. This is what is as a observer is what I can understand. There is a little of probably seeing what she's wearing, how she's pronouncing, is she wearing a lipstick, how big her bindi is, why is she not wearing a sari, why is she wearing a salwar kameez, why there is no dupatta pinned. There is always this discussion. I don't think this the male counterpart are saved from this because they can comfortably wear.
So basically, what you're saying is there is excess scrutiny of a female member of parliament. I'll just go to Ma'am Fauzia Khan for her observation on this.
Well, what Priya is saying is very much right, that the first thing that is observed about a woman is her appearance. And I always feel that why that intellect behind the appearance is not seen. So this is one thing which is about the male mindset, actually, the social mindset. But when this social mindset becomes part of the political setup, then is when it becomes a little dicey. For instance, I would like to quote a few of our leaders. Yogi Adityanath, very, very, he has been talking on his website, he has been making statements saying that women need male protection from birth to death, and their energy or power should be regulated or controlled because it may become worthless or destructive. So, such kind of thing, only controlled woman power will foster birth and rearing of great men, he has said in essays available on his website. And about women's reservation also, his views are that first we should analyze how it's impacting Gram Sabhas and in municipal councils. So I think, a very reluctant kind of mindset that women must not be given independent power. This is the kind of thinking which comes from our chief minister. Nitish Kumar ji, recently we saw that he waved his fingers at RJD legislator Rekha Devi and said, "You are a woman. Do you realize that it was after I assumed power that women started getting, their due in Bihar?" But at the other side, we see Vinesh Phogat, who was publicly humiliated for protesting against Brij Bhushan and shamed for her defeat in the Olympics, in the sense. But then she stood up, she came forward, and now she's running for office. So I think we have the opportunity. And if women take up these challenges, the actual mindset that prevails is not going to make a difference, but it's the confidence which the woman has to bring in herself. And nobody is going to help her for that. She has to do it on her own.
And I think
That's
there's also a global perspective, Tarun. Globally also, women leadership is not something that has been very easily accepted. See, on a global level, we are almost 50% of the population, but still, if you see, the parliamentary positions are only close to 26%. So I think this is a global phenomena where women not being treated equal is a trait that has been practiced. And I think men like you and probably leaders like Fauzia Khan ma'am should actually stand as examples to come and say, like, this has to stop, and we have to, first of all, respect each other as equals. Now, the question is, see, whenever we talk about feminism, we're not talking about, female rights. We are talking about equality. It is just survival rights. Feminism is, I think it's just survival rights. We just want to be treated equally.
point
And
very well. Yes.
I
Yes,
was saying what Priya is saying is so much true that whenever we visit any country, we realize that the women there are facing the same issues that we are facing here. Because even if it's the most advanced and developed country, there also the same issues come up, that it's only the appearance that is seen, our intellect is not looked at, and all these issues. So it's very much right that it's not limited to India.
It's not only in the political scenario, Tarun. I had an opportunity to travel with Fauzia Khan ma'am to Kuwait for a conference where we addressed we addressed the ambassadors across the globe. So ma'am and me were there, fortunately. So ma'am, you would want to share how they were having their experiences as bureaucrats. Even they don't have this equal voice to be seen.
Okay, in bureaucracy also.
Everywhere. In fact, in defense, in the defense sector, everywhere, Army, Navy, Air Force, anywhere you go in any sector, corporate sector, everywhere you will see this discrimination.
Point. Yes, over to you, ma'am. You're completing a point. Yes.
Yeah. No, I was just saying that this discriminatory mindset is actually the issue that we have to solve. But as we have seen in the Panchayat Raj reservation, that this is really helping. Reservation is something which can overcome these things. Like we have seen many Latin American countries where more than 50%, even women have got quotas, but they have crossed their positions up to 60%, even 70% in parliaments of like countries like Rwanda and other Latin American countries. So quota system helps, I feel, and it's only when it is applied properly. We have passed the reservation bill in 2023, but then that is something which has never happened ever in history, that we passed a bill which is going to be implemented after we don't know when the census takes place, when the delimitation takes place, only then it will come into implementation. So this is very strange. I think I have never seen in my life that such a law was passed. But this also indicates the reluctance, the discriminatory mindset, because it's not so simple that women can come and replace men. So they want to increase the seats. Only then they have the courage to really give it to the women.
Point very well taken. I'll go to Advocate Priyadarshini Rahul for one final comment. Do you see that in the past 8-10 years that you have also been observing parliamentary politics, the participation of women increasing in the political fora, or it is just the same? You see real actionable change on the ground?
Actionable change on the ground, yes. Absolutely yes. Like you see women member of parliament constituencies, their growth of development is far way better than a male counterpart. I can tell you this on record with data. But on the other hand, as ma'am rightly said, how much is the male counterpart ready to give them that space? For example, we just have this 24 committees which have been formulated for
parliamentary committees, standing committees.
Standing committees, departmentally related parliamentary standing committees, 24 parliamentary standing committees, out of which, if I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, only 2 parliamentary committees has the women as the chairperson. Only 2. And let me clarify, this is not something that the parliament decides, the speaker decides. No, this is decided by the political party. Each political party nominates their own member of parliament to be the chairman. So, for example, in proportionate to their presence in the parliament. So technically, any XYZ party, if they say, okay, fine, we are giving you 4 chairmanship, for the parliamentary committee, so they have to give them 1, 2, 3, 4. So in which you have already passed the women reservation bill after such a hue and cry, waiting for years together, but you couldn't even afford to have a woman as a chairperson. So I think this is where we stand today. It's good for discussion, Tarun.
But thanks, it's a good point that you highlighted. I never looked at it that way when the committee report came out. But good for highlighting that space. We'll take one final comment from Ma'am Fauzia Khan on does she see women's participation in parliament improving in the past many years that she's spent in parliament?
As far as numbers go, no.
Okay.
It's on the decline. In fact,
it's on the decline.
Yes. From what it was in the last term, this is in the Lok Sabha at least, we have come down slightly. So it's not on the rise. And as I earlier said, that this will be on the rise only when special quotas are given to women. Because fighting with muscle power, money power, all the kinds of things that happen in elections, it is very difficult, very challenging for a woman to get elected. And it is necessary for the woman. I want to, at the end, I speak for the women leadership. It's necessary for the women to be there in leadership roles. Why? Because actual development, when you want to say that a country is developing, it's not just the infrastructure that develops. Education has to develop, health sector has to develop, all these social sectors have to develop. But when men are at the steering wheel, they will naturally, by natural instinct, they will think infrastructural development is development. But human indicators, a woman, when she is there, she will tend to think about women and children, about their safety, about provision of electricity to them, about the average household, what comfort they should be provided, about quality of education. So it's a balance. Once again, I would like to repeat that it has to be a balance. And if really a country has to develop, both these mindsets are required, that from the social indicator point of view, from the infrastructural physical indicator point of view. And that's why I said it's like a family. And unless we come together and put these thinkings together, we cannot call ourselves a developed nation. And that's why we need to bring in women in leadership.
Thank you for that perspective, ma'am. It was an interesting discussion, and let me end this with a small note. Of course, there are women parliamentarians. There must be women standing committee chairmen in municipalities, women mayors. But at the top level in India, we now, I think, if I remember correctly, there is one sitting chief minister, that is Mamata Banerjee, and a deputy chief minister in Rajasthan, Diya Kumari. She is the deputy chief minister. But there are no other women, are they? I don't see. Of course, Vasundhara Rajeji was there. She was a woman chief minister of a state. She was a former. But as things stands today, only 2 women in leadership. I mean, absolute top positions.
Top leadership.
In
Formerly
1963, we had only 1 women chief minister. 2024, we have only 1 women chief minister.
Yes.
And it's been on the decline as well.
Yeah, because ma'am just pointed out, so I realized this. And of course, we had leader of opposition, Sushma Swaraj, long ago, but that's been long now. She's passed away and it's been a while. So I think what Ma'am Fauzia Khan pointed out in terms of declining women leadership roles, it is true. We will keep on tracking this issue, and related to the parliamentary standing committee, Priyadarshini Rahul made an important point. We will track that too. I appreciate that both of you could make time and join us for this important issue. Look forward to having you on the show on some other issue very soon, but appreciate your time. And viewers, thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much.